Hey, super learners. Today we're going to read a story about one of our animals that we've been learning about animals in winter. It's not an informational text, but it is going to be kind of a fun fictional story. Remember, fiction is a made up, make-believe story. And tomorrow is Groundhog Day, where the story goes that the groundhog wakes up and he looks around, and if he sees his shadow, it means one thing. And if he doesn't see his shadow, it means another thing. So it's either going to be a longer spring or no, spring is coming, or it's going to be another 6 weeks of winter. So this story is a little bit about that. So this is Groundhog's Day at the Doctor. And the story is by Judy Delton. Pictures by Julio Maestro. So this is Groundhog's Day at the Doctor. Groundhog woke up and stretched. Ugh. It must be February 2nd, he said. Groundhog Day. I can't stay in bed any longer. Groundhog climbed out of bed and got dressed. Oh, I'm stiff, he said, yawning. I don't think I've had enough sleep. So when you're stiff, it's like your muscles are really tight and it takes you a while to like move around. Oh, that's how Miss A feels when she gets out of bed. After Groundhog drank some tea, he sat in his chair and dozed off. So looking at this picture, what do you think dozed off means? Yeah, took a little nap. When he woke up, he still felt stiff. And when he looked in the mirror, he said, "Dear me, I am pale. Perhaps I have the flu. I'd better go and see the doctor." Pale means a lighter shade of what you usually are. So he's a darker color, and here's a little bit lighter. So Groundhog put on his wool coat, his hat, his muffler, and his warm boots. He started down the path. Soon he arrived at the doctor's office. Rabbit was sitting in a chair waiting for the doctor. "Why, good morning, Groundhog," whispered Rabbit. "Hello, Rabbit," answered Groundhog. "What is the matter with your voice, Rabbit?" asked Groundhog. "I have a very sore throat. I can hardly talk," answered Rabbit. "It all started with a head cold." "Rabbit, Rabbit," said Groundhog, "were you out in the snow without your boots?" Rabbit thought a minute. Then he nodded. "I believe I was, come to think of it. Sunday night when I came from Weasel's house, it was snowing." "No wonder you are sick," said Groundhog. "Have you tried a hot mustard foot bath?" Rabbit shook his head. "Why don't you try that?" said Groundhog kindly. It brought back Squirrel's voice. "Why, thank you, Groundhog, I will," said Rabbit. "The doctor isn't in yet, and it may be a long wait. I think I'll just do as you say." So far, this book reminds me of another book that we read earlier this year, Squirrel's New Year's Resolution, excuse me, where Squirrel was trying to make a resolution and she didn't know how or didn't know what to do. And along the way, she was helping other people. So I wonder if it's going to be kind of like that. A few minutes after Rabbit left, Goose hobbled in, leaning on a cane. "Dear me, Goose," said Groundhog. "Whatever happened to you?" "I've just sprained my ankle," she said. "Oh, it looks bad," said Groundhog, shaking his head. It is very swollen. It means very big. And if you look in the picture, that's the one she sprained because it's bigger than this one. My cousin had a sprained ankle. Worse than yours, Goose, much worse. He put cold mud packs on it, and it was much better by evening. The next morning, he could walk. But the mud is frozen now. Why don't you try snow? So there's her swollen ankle. It may be a long wait for the doctor, and my ankle is aching. I think I'll just do as you say. Thank you, Groundhog. As Goose was leaving, Chipmunk came in the door. He had red spots all over his face, paws, and tail. My immediate thought when I think of red spots is chickenpox. I don't know if animals can get chickenpox. That's a good question. He sat down on the stool that Goose had just left. Groundhog cleared his throat. What are those spots, Chipmunk? He said. It's not the spots I care about, chattered Chipmunk. It's my stomach. Oh, how it hurts. Oh. Groundhog held up a paw. Just a minute, Chipmunk. Do you have a fever? Chipmunk felt his forehead. No, he said. Headache? Said Groundhog. Chipmunk shook his head. Where were you last night? Groundhog asked finally. Last night, said Chipmunk. I went berry picking in the woods. Aha! Those spots are berry juice, said Groundhog. And did you eat too many berries, Chipmunk? Well, I guess so, said Chipmunk. That happened to my grandfather once, said Groundhog, nodding his head. And do you know what he took? What? Said Chipmunk anxiously. Baking soda in water, said Groundhog. He was better in no time, Chipmunk. Really? Said Chipmunk. Thank you, Groundhog. I think I'll just do as you say. It may be a long wait for the doctor, and I do want to get rid of this stomach ache. So Chipmunk waved goodbye and left. Groundhog sat down again. He picked up a magazine and began to read. Just then, the doctor came in. What kind of animal is the doctor? An owl. Hoo, hoo. He looked around the room. Groundhog, you seem to be my only patient this morning. What can I do for you? Dear me, said Groundhog. I forget what the matter was. Oh, yes, I remember. I felt tired and stiff, and I looked pale. I'm surprised you're even out of bed, said the doctor. I always get up on Groundhog Day, answered Groundhog. I'm going to pause here. Why do you think the doctor said, I'm surprised you're even out of bed? And then Groundhog answers, I always get up on Groundhog Day. The doctor looked at his calendar. Groundhog Day is tomorrow, he said. You are up early. You know,
My mother used to feel stiff and tired when she needed fresh air and exercise. That's what you need too, Groundhog.
So guess what? He's up a day early. That's why he's feeling so stiff and sore and tired. He's up too early. That was like me this morning. I woke up like 30 minutes before my alarm even went off. That makes sense, said Groundhog. The doctor looked around and said,
Since there are no more patients, why don't we go skiing together? I could use some exercise too.
And afterwards, we will go to my house, said Groundhog. I will fill 2 hot water bottles. My mother always used to say that heat was good for sore muscles. And that was Groundhog's Day at the doctor. Like I said, it's not exactly an informational text to give us information about our animals in winter, but it's a fun fictional text since we will be celebrating Groundhog's Day tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.